Welcome to Good for Bitcoin, a weekly show recorded live every Friday, where we recap the top events of the week and talk about everything that is good for Bitcoin. If it's built on Bitcoin, then it's good for Bitcoin. Let's get started.
Content shared on this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, or legal advice. The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not reflect the official policy or position of any other agency, organization, or company. We encourage you to conduct your own research and consult with a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Good for Bitcoin. It's our first show of the year after a couple of weeks off over the holiday. So we're both really excited to be back, and we're going to go over kind of a slow news week, which is like, I guess, expected with the holiday, but we'll go over all the things that you missed today. But I guess it feels like the holidays already were kind of a long time ago because we've been back to work this week. But how was your holiday, Kate?
It was awesome. Very cold. I've been I feel like every time we talk, I'm just like, I'm not built for the cold, Brandon. But it was nice.
California's calling.
You're calling me every time. It was really nice though. Yep. It was pretty relaxing. It's, especially in the line of work that we do, it's really good to be able to just completely check out for a little bit and, read what you want to read and be connected how you choose to be connected. So it was good. Spent some time with family, friends. Like I said, got outside, did a little bit of skiing, stuff like that. So it was really nice. How about yours? I mean, you were online most of it.
Travel. I was, I didn't take any time off because we're actually taking a little vacation at the end of this month. So
nice.
I worked through the holiday. I mean, took a few days off, of course, for actual Christmas time. But I didn't do too much. It has been a little, I said come to California, but it has been kind of cold and rainy here also throughout most of the month. So I'm ready. Today is actually the first day that it's been sunny out in a couple of weeks. So I'm enjoying the sunny weather today. But didn't do too much, I guess.
That's good.
Yeah, I don't know. No news is good news.
That's true.
But,
do you have any resolutions or any changes, anything you want to make in the new year? It can be Bitcoin related or not. And you don't have to share also if it's personal.
No, one thing that I have actually been trying to do is just one, limit the notifications on my phone because I feel like I'm just being constantly bombarded with notifications. So I ended up disabling. I have Telegram on my phone, but I ended up just completely disabling all the notifications because there's just so much noise.
Yeah.
And same thing with Discord and a few other platforms like that. There's just there's never anything on there that is extremely urgent.
Yeah.
To me, and it's so much noise that just takes me out of whatever it is that I'm doing throughout the day and on weekends and everything. So being more intentional with that. And I sent this app over to you that I've also been testing out this week. I forget the name of it, but I've been using it, and it's trying to just help better track the tasks that you need to do each day. Feels especially on the work side, going back to everything this week, everybody's back in office now, and now they all have a bunch of ideas and a lot of things getting thrown around, and it's hard to know what to prioritize and what you should work on first. And for me, what tends to happen is there's many things that need to be worked on, and I don't know what to start first, and then I just don't do anything. So it's been helpful to me to have a system in place that is hopefully going to help me get better at that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, trying to be off my phone a little bit more, I think, is probably that's a pretty classic resolution, I guess. But that's what I'm trying to do.
It's worth the battle.
What about you?
Yeah, I like the app that you sent over. I find it very useful. Mine is actually I start my day every day writing down on paper with a pen what I want to get done, because I feel sometimes days can just go by, and if you're not intentional about what you want to do, you look back and you're like, what did I like I feel like I've wasted time or something. So I've started writing down, things that like I really want to do during the day, whether it's work wise or personal wise, probably more personal in this case. And that's how I start my day every morning. And then at the end of the day, I'll leave like 3 spaces of like something I write down that I'm thankful for. So then the following day, when I'm writing down what I want to do that day, I also write down basically my gratitude from the day before. So that's been kind of enjoyable. I've been doing it for 2 weeks. I started it kind of over the holidays before the new year. And I like it. I don't know if it'll last forever, but it's at least giving me, because I always hear people say like, if you just incorporate gratitude into your day, it actually changes things in your mind. And I'm going to try it for once instead of just brushing it off.
It sounds like we're both pretty similar, and like it's really helpful to have like systems on like, I'm systematically going to do this every day, and like, dang it, and I'm going to do it, Yeah, I don't like fill or put these out every day. I have 2 notebooks that sit next to me every day. One is like a work one and one is a personal one.
Yeah.
That I use, but yeah, I keep those handy because, and it's also like just for like retention, it's so much easier to remember stuff when you write things down versus like typing it.
And then you also don't get distracted by going to other apps on your phone. If you're like writing things on your phone, you're like, oh, well, I'll go to this one. It's like, no, you can only go to the next page or go back. Like it's, yeah. Well, it sounds like we're off to a good start.
It is. Yeah. We're so back, as they say.
I love it. And it's Bitcoin's 17th birthday officially. I know it has kind of like some different anniversary dates, but this is the official day when other people could actually download the software and run the Bitcoin code if they wanted to.
Okay. So it's not like, is it like block 0 or block 1? Is it like that
maybe
birthday,
that's
or
what
is it's like a different one?
I think it is like
there's
block
multiple,
0.
like you're saying.
Yeah. It's not like there's Bitcoin white paper day. And then there's actually like when the first Bitcoin was mined. But I feel like this is like when other people could join the network.
Okay.
That's the birthday. That is today.
Yeah, there's like a few milestones. There's like white paper anniversary, which is on Halloween.
Yep.
And then there's like the first block that was mined by Satoshi.
Yep.
And then there's like the first transaction from one person to another, which is like from Satoshi to Hal.
Yep.
And that's also this month, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe it's February. I should know this off the top of my head, but
me too. But it just gets lost over the years.
In general, I only remember White Paper Day because it's on Halloween. It's easy to remember.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah,
anyway,
happy birthday, Bitcoin. Almost
17
an adult.
years. I know. Almost legal.
Yeah. Yeah, we called the title of the show "We're So Back." It does feel like it. I feel like a little bit of like renewed excitement and just like overall more positive vibes on the timeline. I feel like, we don't talk a lot about price because we care about the fundamentals here, but, just to give like context, like year to date, Bitcoin is up 4.2%, and year to date STX is up 51.2%. So we're feeling good vibes in the Stacks ecosystem.
Yeah.
We have, more way to go, I guess, but we're on the way, which is nice to see over the past couple of weeks, and community certainly on board with it. So
totally
makes our jobs a little easier when people are a little happier.
I agree.
My job, at least.
Yeah, mostly yours, but we all feel it too, right? Like we're all a part of it. But all right, should we get into who is buying Bitcoin this week or has been?
Few buys, not very big. Strategy bought some more. They bought some this week and they bought some last week, a little over 1,000 each week. So they now hold 673,783 BTC. They also increased their USD reserve by $748 million. So they now have $2.19 billion in cash in their reserve. And that is specifically going to fund their different, I don't know what we want to call it, but like their STRC and STR, whatever, all their different, I don't know, I forget the term, but
yeah, I know.
It's going to pay the dividends for all of their different mechanisms that they have that they're offering. So keeping the ship afloat for a little while longer.
And then we have the Trump family American Bitcoin. They bought 329 Bitcoin this week. They now hold a total of 5,427.
Strive bought 101 BTC this week. They now hold 7,626 BTC.
And our good friends Metaplanet, they bought 4,279 Bitcoin last week, and they now hold 35,102 BTC. They be stacking.
Good stuff. Yeah. So yeah, we have a few different news items to talk about. So let's get into that. The first one that I saw, I think this was this week, is Babylon has raised $15 million from A16Z Crypto. So congrats to the team there. They specifically raised it. A16Z Crypto purchased $15 million of the baby token. And that's how that raise happened, or that transaction happened. And this is specifically to grow their upcoming product, which is BTC Vaults. So there's this quote from A16Z, which kind of explains it. It says, Babylon began as a Bitcoin staking protocol and is now planning to expand into lending through its trustless vaults architecture. Trustless vaults are built using witness encryption and garbled circuits, enabling Bitcoin to be used natively in DeFi without wrapping or custodians. So definitely, with that description, hearing some similarities between kind of what Babylon is doing and what Stacks is trying to do, with L1 staking. So pretty cool stuff there, where it's happening more on the L1 versus on the L2. And we talked about that, what Stacks was trying to do on our last show. But yeah, it also said though, because I've heard like through the grapevine that like Babylon was, like many Bitcoin L2s, that didn't raise like money, has been having some, I don't want to say struggles, but like, everybody's down, right? So yeah. Babylon has certainly been feeling that too. The Fortune article said that Babylon does not currently generate any revenue, but it hopes to launch later this year on Aave for this product, and they'll be able to, generate some revenue through that. And I had a look over at our friends at Bitcoin Yield, which is Jacob and Jesus's site. The APY on their existing staking product is currently just 0.04%. Basically is just zero.
Yeah.
And that is paid through their baby token. So yeah, that's basically zero. So hopefully this new product works out for them and they can continue. I've heard David say, I was also reading, Babylon technically does not have a CEO. He's like there's like a CTO and like a CIO, but there's no CEO. But David is kind of the kind of like the CEO, he's like the leader, I guess. He's Stanford professor. I've heard him speak on a few like different panels, both like here locally. I've seen him like speak on some stuff, but also at like different, I think even events that Stacks has put on before, David has been part of, and really smart guy, and just a likable guy too. I don't know. I feel like every time I like listen to him speak, I'm like, oh yeah, I like this guy. I'm just rooting for him.
No, that's fun. That's funny.
So yeah, congrats to Babylon, and certainly is a good time to raise some money when a lot of L2s are struggling right now.
Yeah. I think a couple things. I think it's really cool that A16Z is getting more into the Bitcoin space, like through their investment with this. They're obviously a huge name, so anytime that they invest in something, I feel like eyes generally seem to follow. So that will be cool to see, what kind of attention this gathers around that. Also, I've heard Muneeb reference Babylon many times and has like given them praise for their advancements on Bitcoin staking. And, I know Stacks is going to be talking a lot about Bitcoin staking in this year, in this quarter specifically, and specifically staking on the L1 and how important that is for a lot of people. So yeah, who knows how like our products will compare to each other, but I generally feel in this space like any kind of advancements just help like rise the tide, and so I feel like this is cool. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how their vaults. It's interesting because they have like Bitcoin Vault, which seems like a very different product than like what Hermetica is building on Stacks, which is also kind of like a Bitcoin Vault. Obviously like two different products and mechanisms, but we're all trying to kind of achieve the same thing.
Yeah, I think that's a big takeaway for me, is like it's sort of validation that we're on the right path, and like it's just a reminder, like we're all playing on the same team. We're all trying to like, make Bitcoin. They literally use the terms like making Bitcoin more productive.
Yes,
like
I saw
multiple
that.
times in their press releases. Yeah. Like that is a thing that is just proliferating everywhere. That is definitely a Stacks thing that has, evolved into like other L2s saying it, which is fine. It's just validation, right? It's a validation that we're on the right track. But yeah, I thought it was funny. You noticed that too about
I did.
They
I was
mentioned
like, where have I heard that before?
making Bitcoin more productive.
Yeah.
Great. Good idea.
That's funny.
Yeah, next news is Morgan Stanley has kind of entered the crypto space a lot more over the past couple of weeks. So they filed to launch their own Bitcoin and Solana ETFs this week, along with an Ethereum trust. They also plan to launch their own crypto wallet by the end of this year, which is like super interesting. They have traditionally offered some crypto stuff to like their high net worth clients in the past, but they've generally been kind of more latecomers to crypto. So they only started offering like crypto ETFs to their clients in October of last year, just a few months ago. So by launching their own products, they're kind of fully in the game now, which is pretty cool. And I think they were one of the last kind of bigger maybe holdouts, because Vanguard, I think, was one of the big ones that everyone was waiting on, and they finally kind of capitulated and got into Bitcoin ETFs last month. I think we talked about that, but
yeah,
more institutions getting on board.
They are just following that institutional flow. They will go where the money will go. So that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is pretty funny. You put this on here and I was like, what the heck is this? And then I looked into a little bit more and I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. So you can give some context, but basically you're asking if Venezuela has, you put 16 billion worth of Bitcoin, but I've read 56.
Yeah. I put this bullet point in here and I forgot to expand on it. But yeah, the question basically is, one, has Venezuela been accumulating a ton of Bitcoin? A lot of sources and signs are pointing to yes, although they haven't like publicly revealed that. And, with all the stuff that happened with Maduro over the past couple of weeks, now people are starting to speculate, is the US going to try to recover Venezuela's Bitcoin and add it to the US reserve? And I think there's a lot of different ways that we can go. We saw this, I think, last year. El Salvador obviously has, a lot of Bitcoin. They're, the most well-known, I guess, country outside of the US that has a stash of Bitcoin that they are accumulating. And I think it was last year, could have been the year before, that they actually moved from having their Bitcoin custodied by like Coinbase or somebody like that into moving it into self-custody. So I think it was on the last show, we were talking about the fact that, these institutions, they want to, not necessarily hold their own keys because they want to be able to trust, another institution. They want to be able to like sue somebody if something breaks, right? It's just the compliance and the regulatory stuff. They don't want to hold their own keys. But this is like a very prime example of, well, if you're not holding your own keys and you're trusting like Coinbase or somebody like that to hold, your Bitcoin for you, what happens if some court order comes in ruling, hey, you need to transfer this Bitcoin to this other party? If you hold your own keys, it's impossible. Nobody can take that Bitcoin away from you. It can't be seized. I think there's still a lot up in the air in terms of like, one, do they even have all this Bitcoin that is being rumored? Two, how is it being custodied? And, is it going to be possible? But I think it's just a good reminder, like the properties, these core properties of Bitcoin, of being like unconfiscatable and decentralized and immutable and everything like that. It applies to everybody, whether you're a huge country or just one single person. So I think it's super interesting. But I guess we'll see what happens with their Bitcoin if they have it.
On top of all of the other resources, I guess, that Venezuela is sitting on. Yeah, who knows? Yeah. I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's ever going to be like, even if they are holding on to it, I don't know if that would be something that they would publish, but it's how crazy is that if they were just like stealthily stacking hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin? Crazy.
Yeah. It's also like, if they did acquire a ton of Bitcoin, did they do that at the expense of their citizens? And, is it like, the US then seizing all of this Bitcoin and then all the Venezuelan citizens just don't
get to benefit at all from it. Yep.
Yeah. So hopefully, I don't even know how that would work, where there was some system for it to like go back to, the users. But
yeah, unfortunately, that also will
take complications with that.
Yeah, and it will take so much time to figure that out. That even if they did end up benefiting it benefiting from it in the end, it would take years and years and years, I can imagine, because it's never quick.
Yep. Totally.
Okay. This one's cool. Ghana officially legalizing Bitcoin. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so over the holiday break, they passed this bill, the Virtual Asset Service Providers Bill, or VASP bill, which basically establishes a legal framework for regulating Bitcoin and crypto assets, as well as crypto service providers. Regulatory clarity, basically, I don't know if it was like, I don't really like, not following it too closely. I don't know if it was like illegal to hold Bitcoin before or anything like that. There was a bullet point in here saying that 17% or 3 million people of the adult population in Ghana are already using Bitcoin and other digital assets like stablecoins.
Yep.
But the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Aziama, stated that, quote, virtual asset trading is now legal and that, quote, no one is going to be arrested for engaging in crypto. So, yeah, I don't know if it was like I don't know how like legal or illegal it was. Needs some more research on my end, but it seems like they're, getting on board with it, which is very cool.
Very cool. Okay, great. Let's move into our last little segment. This is just some quick headlines that I found. If you have any others, feel free to add them. We've talked about this before, MSCI. They basically like create stock market indexes, and then it's just like a list of companies that are grouped by rules, and then other funds will use that as sort of like a blueprint of where to invest. And they had talked about removing companies that held like a certain percentage of their Bitcoin on their balance sheet is basically not to be included in these indices because they didn't operate like traditional companies in those lists. But they ended up deciding to not remove Bitcoin Treasury companies for now. So obviously that keeps strategy in those indices, which is obviously huge for them. And they were pushing back a lot because if they were removed, a lot of money would flow out from their company, which is not a good thing. And there was like some panic, I think, over the holidays around it. I was reading a little bit about it, but in the end, it did not happen. So it means Bitcoin can stay institutionally friendly for the time being. And I think after it was kind of announced that they're not going to pull strategy in other Bitcoin Treasury companies, the strategy stock rose 5.5%. So yay for them. And then we have...
So basically,
go ahead.
This makes them be like included in so they're included in like different indexes. And then if you're like a company, you're just investing in the index. You're not necessarily being like, oh, I want to buy strategy, but as part of the index, like strategy's in there. So an investment in the index means you're investing a portion of that investment in strategy. So if strategy were to get removed, that would mean that a ton of like capital would basically sell off on strategy, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it works, I think.
Exactly it. Yep. And then another one I saw is coming out of Florida. They're introducing a bill to create a state-managed Bitcoin reserve, which would be held separately from their treasury, and only Bitcoin would qualify. So if that's passed, the reserve would go live mid-2026.
It's pretty cool. I feel like we haven't talked about a lot of like state bills in a while.
Yeah, I know.
It's been kind of quiet.
I think it's
because it feels like Florida would be one of the earlier ones that would have done it with like Suarez and Miami and everything.
Yeah, I'm sure this year we'll probably see more actually being implemented because I think last year was kind of like a lot of announcement and of an announcement and like this is our plan, and obviously it takes time to be able to actually buy it and figure out the custody situation and all that stuff. So I would imagine the ones that are super serious about it, we might start to see some movement throughout 2026, but could be also longer than that.
Yeah, and hopefully we see some more countries getting on board too.
True. Yep. All right. Well, I thought we could end it with if there's any narratives you think that are gonna, whether you like them or not, doesn't matter. It's mostly just like, what do you think the narratives are gonna be this year for Bitcoin?
So hard to say. I mean, it really does feel like you put institutions in here. I 100% agree. Like, it just feels like that's all we care about. And like, I think we both have mixed feelings on like institutions getting more involved in Bitcoin, right? Because like the whole point is that you shouldn't be trusting institutions to custody your Bitcoin. And if I'm buying an ETF, I'm not really buying uppercase Bitcoin, I'm buying lowercase Bitcoin, and I just get price exposure. And that's certainly great, but that's not, the whole part of it. So mixed feelings there. But I think, last year we saw a lot of, and kind of into this year as well, we've been seeing kind of a lot of like this core infrastructure getting built for institutions to, potentially move more of that stuff on chain. So I think this year, in terms of predictions, we'll see a Bitcoin Treasury company or some large institution or something like that actually deploy Bitcoin somewhere, whether it's Stacks, whether it's Babylon, somewhere. I think it just feels like that's where things are headed, is a lot of this infrastructure is being built. And, we don't know anything. I guess I should add, like, there's no insider information here. This is just purely speculation, but it feels like that's just where things are headed. And I think in order for, some of the plans that these L2s are outlining to be successful, like that has to happen this year. So if I'm going to make a prediction, that sounds somewhat safe for me to predict.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think I put also on here because I think this kind of falls in line with the institutions maybe deploying their Bitcoin, is this idea of Bitcoin staking, specifically on the L1. And we see this with Babylon announcing their Bitcoin vaults. But I feel like this is going to be sort of the push where, people building on Bitcoin are pushing towards, is self-custodial earning Bitcoin on the L1, or as closely as possible. So I feel like this is going to be a narrative that's going to be coming up quite a bit.
I'll add on to predictions saying, I think within even like the next 6 months, just because lately Bitcoin is starting to feel like a stable coin. And whenever Bitcoin starts to feel like a stable coin, it kind of means that we're due for a bigger move, whether that's a big move up or a big move down. I don't know. That's kind of based on, I guess, this end of the 4-year cycle trend also that a lot of people are talking about. But we'll see. But I think either way, we are kind of due for some movement on the Bitcoin side. And I don't think it can stay in this like 97K range for much longer.
Agreed. I'm with you.
Just based on feeling.
Just vibes. That's what we're based on. All right. Well, I don't have any more predictions. I'm ready to get into the year, see what happens, but I'm excited for another year in Bitcoin. I also know this is your 3rd year anniversary working with sort of within the Stacks ecosystem. Is that true?
Yeah. 3rd year anniversary working in Stacks, 5 years in Bitcoin.
Very cool.
If you count me working at BlockFi.
I would, totally.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's been a really awesome 5 years. I posted prior to working kind of in the crypto Bitcoin space. I worked at Microsoft for like 9 years, and I'm just very glad that I left that B2B like SaaS, kind of company to come work for Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Me too. I was working actually at the government of Canada, which is like totally 180 from where I am now. But I wanted to work in Bitcoin so bad and I had no experience. So I just started writing about it online and basically like forced my way into the industry. And it worked. And I'm super thankful to be here working in Bitcoin, but also like a layer deeper working at Stacks with Stacks. And it's literally just like layer deeper. Literally. It brings you it's interesting how like working on a layer 2 project actually like brings me much closer to Bitcoin than working at like a centralized company, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. 100,000% to that. Like when I was at BlockFi, like I thought that I was working for a Bitcoin company, and like we certainly offered, some Bitcoin products, but like that's a very CeFi company. And I didn't really understand anything when it came to like how, Bitcoin Core works, like how Bitcoin development works, like through kind of the lens of like Stacks and also through ordinals as well. Like I have learned so much about Bitcoin and how Bitcoin works compared to any of the time that I was at BlockFi for. And one other point too that you mentioned, which I like also 100% agree with and feel, is like this space in crypto in general is like so equitable in terms of like if you put in some work and you start posting, like people will recognize it, and like you can go very far in this industry without traditional like I don't know, experience, I guess. Like you can be in this space, you can join communities, you can start posting, start creating content, and like you can get very far just by doing that. And this is, I think, one of the few industries that's like that.
I agree.
Compared to a lot of others.
Proof of work.
Yeah.
It works.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that wraps up for the week. Kind of a quiet couple of weeks, just with the holidays and everything. But we will be back next week for the news. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and go subscribe to us on goodforbitcoin.com. This live show gets packaged up in podcast form and published every Friday. So thank you all for tuning in, and yeah, have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.
See you guys. Bye.